This is the MO Sessions podcast, where we talk about magic ways to become a better magician to be good to your magic. I'm your host, Benny Slade, and I couldn't be any more thrilled that you are here. I wanted to welcome you back to a very special episode of the podcast. It's been almost 3 years since I recorded the last episode, and I couldn't even tell you what the last episode was. So thank you for tuning in to a new episode of the MO Sessions. I just wanted to kind of update you where I've been, what I've been doing, things I have going on, and the future of this podcast, because I love doing it. So lately I've been trying to play with the idea of how do I restart the MO Sessions, and I kind of struggled to figure out how I wanted it to sound and how I wanted the look to be for the future of it, and I found some of the old episodes that I had, and I'll kind of loop back around and explain what happened to the podcast and where it went. And one of the things is, so when I was recording the podcast, it's almost been 3 years ago, which blows my mind. I was talking to a very close friend of mine, and we were talking about the podcast and how it started and what it was supposed to be. And the funny thing about it is that when I started the MO Sessions, it was supposed to be co-hosted with a good friend of mine, and we came up with this idea to have it be like us sitting across the table from each other, just sessioning, talking about different magic things. And very quickly, it shifted to something different, to where I wanted it to be just me talking about magic and things that I'm finding in my journey through magic and things like that. And it was interesting. I had been down the rabbit hole so many times, different rabbit holes. Most of it having to do with sleight of hand with cards. And it was just an incredible project that I had created. I created something that almost became bigger than what I had intentionally wanted it to be, which is good, because what I was doing was I was just creating the podcast just to put out there. We were at a time during the pandemic, everybody was sitting at home, and I felt this calling to a very strong pull to have some sort of input with my magic and share it and talk about things and talk to other magicians about certain things and really put it on the record, I guess. And that's what the MO Sessions was originally supposed to be. And the way it shifted became a personal project. It became a passion project. It became something that I wanted to plan and record, and I wanted it to have value and substance, and the quality had to be there, or else I just wasn't going to do it. I didn't plan on recording a podcast if I was recording it on my cell phone, which I had to do one time because I was in a pinch, and it still turned out pretty well. So that was really interesting. But since then, I think the last episode I might have recorded was March of 2021, I want to say. And the interesting thing, a little behind the scenes about the podcast, was I had the Discord, and I had grown a very small community of people, and it started to get really, closed-minded. I had been hearing from a lot of magicians that my views and things on magic and things like that were closed-minded, and towards the end of the podcast, life kind of happened. And it was just a strange time for me personally. I had been moving. I moved to a whole different, I stayed in the same state. I just moved to a whole different county, which was another 30 minutes from where I had previously been living. The podcast was kind of just dormant. I didn't feel creative to record. I was still reading my magic books and practicing, and I was seeing magicians in person from time to time. And I just stopped. I just kind of let the whole thing disappear. No pun intended, but I just kind of let the whole thing disappear. And a few magicians had asked me, do I plan on continuing it? Do I want to start it again? I had put out 5 publications, 4 of them being for the magic industry, and one of them being my own personal project, was a short story that I published, but it was still somehow magic related. And at that time, I felt more drawn to writing than I did recording. And for me, the process is kind of hand in hand. I do like to record and I do like to write. So all of my episodes, I used to write out, like, it almost was like 2 or 3 pages full of just things I wanted to talk about and share with you guys, and kind of just go down different rabbit holes and whatnot. So now I'm at a point in my life where I moved into a much bigger living space and I have my own space to record. Before that, I was recording out of my room, and that wasn't really conducive to my lifestyle at that time. And yeah, so the podcast just kind of disappeared. And it's been 2 years. I think this year is 2 years since I've recorded the last episode. And the past few months, I've been really drawn towards doing it again. Talking about magic and sharing some things that I've been reading and working on. And where I am right now is I kind of haven't been practicing my magic like I should. I do sit down with the deck of cards more now than I did probably in the past year or so. And yeah, so there's some things I want to talk about. There's a lot of things I'm interested in. I've been in touch with some people and we're talking about magic, and they know that I've been trying to work on the podcast, and I've really just been moving in silence, trying to plan it and what I want it to be and going from there. So I'll kind of do a quick update on my life and things with me personally. I was working in the restaurant industry when I was originally recording the podcast. I wanted it to be a passion project, so I just kind of was really trying to push out these episodes, and I didn't have time to. I was working all the time is what it felt like. And I had been working in a toxic work environment at that point, and the podcast was kind of like my outlet to blow off some steam, per se. And I think some of those times on some of the episodes, which I'm slowly recovering, I found episodes scattered throughout a couple of hard drives. And I have a completely different computer now, so I'm trying to figure out where the rest of them are from my old laptop and all this other stuff. So I will be posting some of the older episodes if I can find them. If I find all of them, I'm more than happy to post all of them, but I have no idea where they all are. So now my life is different. I did 10 years in the restaurant industry, and I had worked my way up from the time I was a teenager all the way up until my early 30s, working in management and people development and team development and borderline like HR situations. And I had served, bartended. I hit every position you can think of in the restaurant industry, to the point of where I was getting ready to be offered higher up positions. And my life wasn't being called to that, so I went in a different path. So now I'm working to acquire my license as a barber. I've been cutting hair very slowly is the way I'm trying to figure out how to word it, because my journey started in 2014-15 when I went to school. And I'm not going to bore you with the details, but none of the paths I was taking at that time to obtain my license worked out for me. So I did my whole career in the restaurant industry. I had a family to feed. So I was really just in that mode of trying to make things happen. And finally, once I moved, I had hit a wall and I said, I'm done with the restaurant industry. Life is short. I want to do what makes me happy. And I had decided to go back to barbering. So I'm currently at a barbershop in Metro Atlanta, just right outside of Atlanta, about 25 minutes or so. And yeah, I just decided to take the plunge and kind of go submerge myself in the world of barbering. So that's been an interesting journey for myself. I might be starting my own like personal podcast that's not magic related, where I'll be talking about that a little bit more and some other things. But that's where my life has kind of taken me, and I'm in a house now, a bigger space, and everybody can kind of spread out. Before that, we were in like this crammed apartment, and yeah, mental health is a thing. That's one thing I learned during the pandemic is like your mental health is really important, and self-care and all that stuff. So, um, I'm back up to par, and I'm happy and I'm healthy, and my family is happy and healthy, and I'm ready to start the MO sessions again. I'm ready to start it again. It won't be posted as frequently as before, only because I have so many other projects going on. And this is a passion project, so I will be posting, when I have a thought, I'll probably post it or record it and talk about it if I'm reading a book or working on a move or whatever it is. So this is a different type of magic podcast. The MO Sessions was originally supposed to be a conversation between two magicians talking about many different things. What it ended up turning into on its own was an interview, a solo podcast with some interviews and things like that. But it's really an engaging look into my thinking process and my thoughts around magic and things like that. Not that it matters, because everybody has their own opinions, and you'll hear opinions on here. Previously, I've had magicians on here express their own opinions about things, and that's okay. I think that's what makes it fun for me personally, is hearing everybody's opinion, whether I agree with it or not. Just as long as I listen, I'm okay with it. So, moving forward with the podcast, I'm going to be sharing different links and different thoughts that I have. I will be interviewing a few guests. My opinion and my thought process on magic has changed slightly, whereas if you listen to some of the old episodes that were just me, and kind of in some of the interview ones, I was very closed-minded, and I was offending some magicians. And I won't apologize, because at that time where I was in my magic, for me, it made sense to be thinking in that process. I've done so much reading, and I've talked to a bunch of magicians since then. And yeah, I'm excited to share kind of where my head is at with that. It's much different than where it was. Back then, it was very closed-minded. And I got to the point of where I just don't care. I don't care about being closed-minded or open-minded. Everybody has their own magic, and everybody has their own things that they do with it, and all of it's good. That's what makes up the magic world. And I do keep in touch with magicians who are not involved with the magic industry for their own personal reasons, and they don't like getting into the politics of the magic and all that stuff, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And quite frankly, I think I'm still in this enlightenment period of magic where it's good to have your magic and develop it yourself and share it with those that you want to. If you want to perform on a big stage, then that's who you want to share it with. If you don't want to share it at all, that's also okay. But we all have one thing in common. We all love magic and sleight of hand and all the magicians that came before us, and the shoulders that we stand on. I mean, it's an incredible thing to be a part of. So I'm excited to get back to it. This is a short episode to kind of reintroduce you guys back into the podcast. I am looking forward to having some friends of mine on here and some magicians on here to talk about magic and sharing some things magic-wise. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for listening, and welcome back to the MO Sessions.